Your worst job experience, or like the most nervous, or a funny story, just whatever you have.
Well, I have one locked and loaded because I shared it on Facebook.
Okay. Keep it, remember, PG-13, guys.
Oh, yeah, no, it's totally PG. It's not even really
so
funny.
So, like, no murder or anything?
No murder
yet.
So, like, two years ago now, I believe, I used to work at a cafe downtown Vancouver, and loved that place. It was amazing. It was a very, very... I didn't work there with them. It was a totally different cafe. But I was, like, working there, and it was whatever. It was, like, it was my full-time job. And we had the supervisor, and he didn't, like... He was just, like, this dude. I didn't know him very well, and I didn't really understand him because it was a bit of a language barrier, but it was whatever. He seemed cool. And so one day I was, like, doing my thing. It was, like, super busy because we're, like, right in the heart of Vancouver, and I am, like, working my butt off. And then I turn around, and my supervisor, who was, like, the manager on at the time, was yelling at one of the customers, and he was, like, swearing at them and just, like, freaking right out. And I was, like, I turned around, and I was, like, excuse me? Don't talk to the customer like that. Like, I don't know what he did or what he said, but that doesn't justify you talking to him like that. And then he turned on me, and he was like, how dare you try to talk back to me, and like, F you, and F that, and F you, and I was like, I did not sign up for this. I'm just trying to protect the customer. I'm cashing out, and I'm taking the tips. I'm taking your tips, and I'm leaving.
That was such a power move to take his tips, though.
I took his tips, and I was, like, on my way.
The twist, the customer was me.
Oh.
But anyway, so, like, it's all said and done. I, like, go home for the day, and then the owner of the shop calls me, and they're like, hey, like, I just heard about what happened. I'm so sorry. I'm going down there right now, and I'm firing him. And I was like, whoa, okay, awesome. So they walk down, they fire this guy for, like, just, like, lashing out and swearing at everyone. And then they're like, hey, Kayla, so the position of supervisor just opened up. Do you want his job? And I was like, no. Why? So, yep. Love working customer service.
That's an adventure.
And yeah, so that's my story.
All right.
Like it.
Does anyone else?
I do have a funny one.
Okay.
Because I work with children. Lots of them. I work in customer service too, but usually I prefer my job as a dance teacher. So, this was like my second year teaching on my own. Yeah, depending on like your maturity level and how long you've been an assistant and in the apprentice program, I started teaching at 16. But like little ones, I wasn't doing recital dances. Anyway, the youngest class we have is called the 𝐓𝐼𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫 class because they're 2 years old. And like it's almost like glorified babysitting essentially, but you know they do learn things like how like this song is slow. How do we move slow? You know, things like that. As long as you can get them to walk in without crying, you're usually good. But we do this thing where they practice staying in a line. It's called the train. There's a slow version and there's a fast version. So this group, they were like going on 3 years old. So we elevated to, yes, I know you're frustrated. I told you. They were about 3 years old. So we elevated to the fast train, which means they slowly get a little bit faster and faster and they have to learn how to stay in a line. Hold on, I'm gonna have to pause my story because she's not allowed to be on the floor in my room. No. I'll hold you in suspense. Hold on.
Suspense. Killing us.
We'll never know what happened to the 𝐓𝐿𝐵𝐿 squad.
Nope.
Long may they reign. Crazy 3-year-olds.
Do you have
3-year-olds are crazy.
Daniel?
Oh, there's too many. I get all the crazies all the time, like old people who
Told
forgot
you
to pay
she'd
their
start
bills,
growling.
and then they're mad at me that they didn't pay their bills.
Sorry. So we're doing fast train, and you know they do like their wheels and everything, and you explain like, all right, Emma's gonna stay behind me, Lydia's gonna stay behind Emma, like you're trying to get them to stay in a line. Well, at the end of the fast train song, you're supposed to slow down. You say, all right, the choo-choo train's slowing down. So they start going back to a walking. Well, the front girl slowed down. This was like a group of 5 girls. The others didn't. So you have first girl gets trampled by the second girl, falls on her. Third girl falls, fourth, fifth, and they stacked on top of each other, essentially. And me and the assistant are trying so hard not to laugh. So hard not to laugh, because like I turn around as it's happening. It was one of those things that's like, I don't care how trained you are, there's some things you just can't stop. And I'm turning around and you just say boom, 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 boom. And we're like, no. Because typically when they fall, you don't go, oh my gosh, you hurt, because then they go, am I hurt? And then they start scream crying. Whereas if you just kind of ignore it for a second, they might not think they're hurt and they're actually fine.
Yeah.
Depends. But no, the girl on the bottom, the one that was trampled the most, was like, I'm fine. And the girl on the top was scream crying. And I was like, you're literally the least injured out of everyone here. I know it just scared her. It was just one of those moments where I felt so bad because I'm trying so hard to stifle a laugh while also comforting this 2.5-year-old girl who's so traumatized by the train wreck.
Oh my goodness. The literal train wreck.
Yeah.
Literal.
Amazing. Gotta love kids.
All right.
Kids, man.
Have you thought of one, Daniel?
Oh, sure. This is an old story. For my first job, when I was in my late teens and I worked at a movie theater. I don't recommend it, by the way.
Were you the butter guy?
It's the worst job. I was the butter guy. I was the butter guy. No, I was like scooping popcorn, squirting butter. It was very messy. Butter's hard to clean up. Okay, but at the time, I can't remember if it was the first or second Hangover movie was playing. I don't remember which one it was. I just remember that it was The Hangover because for some reason when we were playing The Hangover, a lot of people decided it would be very funny to show up to the movie drunk out of their minds, right? So I guess it just brought them more into the experience of the film. I don't recommend doing that, by the way, because it just leads to all kinds of disasters. So anyways, it was like midnight and our concession stand had closed and we were cleaning up. Now the concession stand, for those of you who know the area in Vancouver, this was at Metropolis, Metrotown. So is the biggest movie theater in like the province.
Next to the Daily Bugle.
Sure. And our concession stand wasn't like closed off. It was like an island in the middle of the lobby. So when we're cleaning up, like we're just still like out in the lobby in the open. So people could still come up and talk to us in theory, right? So we're cleaning up and this woman stumbles out of a theater from The Hangover, clearly inebriated as it were. And she comes and like half collapses over the counter and she's like, can I get a popcorn? And I'm like, I'm sorry, we're actually closed. And she's like, but I just need a popcorn. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, we are closed. It's like after midnight, you know. She's like, well, the movie's still playing. Why are you closed? And I'm like, all the movies have started. All the last shows have started. Movie's almost done. Like we have to leave at some point, right? Like, sorry, we're closed. And she's like, can't you just for me, just make one more batch of popcorn? And I look behind me and one of my coworkers is actually cleaning the popcorn maker. He's literally standing inside the machine cleaning the glass. And I just look at him and he's like, and I'm like, no, that's no, that guy's in there. You don't like, there's chemicals everywhere now because we're like sanitizing everything. It's not, our tills have all cashed out. Like this is not happening, right? And then she started to like, you can probably see where the story's going because she was drunk. She started to like throw up a little bit, but then she like stifled it and she's like, and it like leaks between her fingers and she runs away. So that's, I don't recommend working in a movie theater, everybody. It's real gross. That's the end of my story.
Yikes. Shameful moment. I have been one of the drunk people at the movie theater. It was no. It was 5 p.m. I tripped over a bunch of children. I'm a bad person.
Girl, okay. The Hangover kind of makes sense. It's an R-rated movie, you know, about being super drunk. Zootopia?
Wow.
Kayla?
I didn't remember that movie. I had to watch it a second time, and I was like, wow, this movie's so good.
All right.
Oh no.
So-
Do you have any good stories?
I have two. I'll go with the second, which is more of a. So the first one is like an aggravation type of thing, that, like dealing with an incredibly rude customer, and the second was dealing with corrupt management, I guess. So I was working at this used game store after I had worked at GameStop, and it was after the holiday season because I was seasonal at GameStop, and then the holiday season was over, and this was when the PS4 and the Xbox One first came out. So then this used game store that was like right behind GameStop was hiring, so I was like, I'll just go over there. And they hired me, and they only had like the main manager, an assistant manager, and then a temp person that they would call in. And they were wanting me to come in to replace the temp person because the main manager would always talk bad about the temp person, like, she's always late, she never does this, she never does that, she just sits there, blah blah blah. And then he'd talk about the assistant manager, being like, all she does is sit there and do nothing. And the assistant manager would bring in her girlfriend, and they would just sit there and talk the entire time and wouldn't do anything. So whenever I would get there, there would be like all of these used games that needed to be organized and stuff. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna let all of the stuff pile up and then the new guy can take care of it, was basically what it was like. But I was like, okay, whatever, it's the new guy treatment, I don't care, I'll do it. Because there was like 4 customers that came in there a day, and usually it was just people that like came to order a pizza that was beside the place. So while they were waiting on their pizza to get done, they would just roam around and look at the games, because everybody just went to GameStop. But anyways, after
So,
like
how did this stay in business?
I really don't know. But after like 2 days, like there would be people come in with like their entire life collection of video games. Like this one guy brought in a giant box of like Xbox 360 and Super Nintendo.
Oh, wow.
He was trying to get an Xbox 360. Yeah, that's what it was. He brought in like Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis and like tons of games. And then he just wanted like an Xbox 360 and whatever the newest Call of Duty was. And I'm like, why? Like, you have A Link to the Past and like Sonic and all of these great games and Mega Man. But he's like, I just want an Xbox. And I was just like, okay, this is your choice.
I bet you before that he came from the movies where he saw The Hangover. And he was
Yeah, but that's what it was. Like, I'd see these people come in, like they would give out like their entire lives collection, like their entire childhood in a box, and I'm like, why? For like $15? But anyways, so the problem gets to when like after 2 days, the manager's like, oh, you seem to know what you're doing, open up tomorrow. And I'm like, what do you mean open up? Like, and he's like, oh, you just go and count the cash register and blah blah blah, here's the key. And I'm like, okay. So I come in the next day and open up and everything's fine. I worked there for like a few months. And over time, like, you hear that like the last manager got fired because he got caught stealing and stuff. And then I started noticing a bunch of like weird small inconveniences. And one day I was like counting through the cash register and there was like $200 or $300 missing. And you're supposed to write down, like, you're supposed to take out money from the cash register and put so much in the safe, and then put like whatever, like 2,000 or whatever in the safe, and then whatever is left over you put in an envelope, and then write down how much is in the envelope. And there's always supposed to be enough to go in the first envelope, because that's what is supposed to go into the cash register the next morning. So it's always supposed to be the same. But there wasn't enough in the cash register to like fill in what was supposed to be there. And like it didn't add up to where like there was like $100 or $200 or whatever missing. And I was like, oh no, like the last manager just got fired because he was stealing money. They're gonna think I'm stealing money. So I like mark it down and I try to call the manager, but I don't get a hold of him. And then the next day, he calls me and is like, "Hey, why did you mark down that there wasn't so much on the thing?" And I was like, "Because I marked down what was there, like I'm supposed to." And he's like, "Yeah, well, next time, even if it isn't there, just mark down that it's there. That way no one gets in trouble." And I'm like, "But won't people get in trouble if the money's not actually there with the right numbers?" And he's just like, "Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Okay." And then like a week later, I ended up getting fired for showing up late and eating tacos.
That's a good reason to get fired. That's why I want to go out. Showing up late and eating tacos.
No, at the same time, like you showed up, like you walked in
Showed up
or
with a taco in your hand.
and they're like,
Sorry,
"That's the
guys.
last straw."
No,
Yeah,
actually. There's a Taco Bell next to it, and I would get like an order of Taco Bells to last throughout my entire lunch thing. So I would like it would be my breakfast for opening, and then I would still have 2 or 3 tacos left for my lunch break. And if no one was in the store, I would just go back and eat a taco. So like I'm just carrying my box of tacos into the break room, and it's like no one comes to the store. And I always had the problem where like I would get nervous, so I'd have to go use the bathroom. So sometimes like we would open
You'd
up
sit on
like,
the toilet and eat a taco?
no, but like I would
It's not
do
sanitary.
Oh, no. Not
so it's
at
like
all.
I would show up like, and then you guys you know my ex, or you know of my ex, and she was the one that was driving me back and forth. So sometimes when I'd be like, "Hey, wake up, I gotta go to work, can you take me?" And it's like, you can't do anything. So I was kind of dealing with that. So I showed up and I had my tacos. And I had to give my keys back. And
Wow.
that was that.
They didn't take the taco away though. You got
No,
to keep that.
no, but I was happy. I was happy though, because like every day after that thing, whenever the money was missing, I was like, I'm gonna get blamed for this. Because I was the one who counted it and put my name beside it. So I was like, I'm gonna get blamed. Like that's gonna be taken out of my check. But no one ever said anything. So I was like, oh, thank God I was fired, because I didn't want to be blamed and arrested for stealing hundreds of dollars.
I was fired for tacos.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like
Of all things.
because the thing is, no one goes there at all. Like you go there and open up, and then 3 hours later, someone stumbles in because they're waiting on a pizza. Like that's it.
Sounds like a great job.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, and then the guy would have like, so you know how you can put movies and cartoons on a PlayStation 3 with like a USB drive or whatever, and you can like
Sure.
watch. Well, he would have like a bunch of old cartoons. Like if you guys watched the G4 TV, there's like icons and other things. That was like documentaries about video game makers and stuff, which is really cool. But then he'd have like Sonic and the Super Mario show and Ren and Stimpy and stuff like that. And some of the stuff, like the Mario cartoons, is good PG stuff. But then it's like Ren and Stimpy, and it's like that's not PG. Like that's like very R-rated stuff. And like a family-friendly environment.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because it's a cartoon, you shouldn't have that playing. So then like I would talk about stuff like that too, and the guy's like, if you don't like it, you can just get away. I'm like, tacos. So yeah, that's my story.
Amazing.
What a
Oh
story.
my gosh.
I was
Twist ending.
fired, tacos, showing up late, and what was the other thing? Oh yeah. I looked at it as a blessing because it meant I was not going to be arrested for stealing hundreds of dollars. So
Yikes.
that's my thing.
Yep.
So
That story was written by M. Night Shyamalan because it had such a twist.
Worst.
I probably
Wow.
wouldn't have been late if I didn't get the tacos. To be honest, I would have been there on
Good
time.
thing you needed tacos.
Good thing.
Good
'Cause if you had
thing.
stayed longer, someone would have tried
No,
to pin that
I
on you.
literally could have went in and like counted all the money for the cash register and opened up and everything, and then just like left the store completely empty and got tacos and came back, and everything would have been fine because no one would have came in. I could have just been like, oh, it's outside, Like, I don't smoke. But the people that, like the other people that work there would always go out for like 30 minutes and they're like, I'm taking a smoke break. And they'd come back 30 minutes later and I'm like, I don't get a break. I don't smoke. I should get a break. Like, when's mine? Can I go outside and hang out and sit down for 30 minutes?
My mom used to do that when she was in her early 20s. She was working at a hospital, front desk person, worked way up to like manager or something. And she just one day left. She was like, I'm taking a break. And they were like, it's not your turn to take a break. And she went, so-and-so's taking a break. And they're like, well, yeah, it's a smoke break. She was like, I want a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, I bite my nails. That's my bad habit. I want a break. For 30 minutes. And they were like, what? And they didn't say anything to her. They let her take a break. A paid
Shake
break.
the smokers down.
Yeah. So
honestly, it would drive me crazy when I was supervisor at Starbucks, and then we had another coworker who would take very frequent smoke breaks, and then I would be like, just like, no. I basically had to shut her down for it. Like, you don't get extra breaks. We already get 3 breaks a day. Like, you're not entitled to more breaks than anyone else just because you have a terrible habit that's killing yourself. So there's my spicy hot take.
Yep.
It makes me think of my students who purposely go to the bathroom during certain ballet exercises they don't like. I caught one time, like, they always went during releves. That's a ballet move. Anyway, so one time I had everyone do the releve combination. Funny enough, she walks out right when the releves were finished. I was like, wow, it's not even that long of a combination. How did you manage to get through leotard, tights, and everything in that bathroom? She comes out and I was like, oh, since you missed releves, you're going to do it on your own. And everyone's going to watch you. She was like 12. I was like, you know better. Yeah. And she was like, what? And I was like, you missed releves. These are very important if you ever want to go on point, which you said you do. So we're going to watch you do them. She never asked to go to the bathroom again.
I watched a sort of ballet movie yesterday. The Phantom of the Opera.
Not the same thing.
Oh. It's not even an opera.
Oh, dear.
The Phantom of the Opera?
It's not an opera. It sounds like one. And it
has it in the title.
One.
But there's ballet parts in it. They came out with their little shoes and they like got it in like this weird powder stuff. And I'm like, sure, why not?
Rosin.
Sure.
It's so you don't slip and fall on your face. But sometimes that doesn't work either.
Because it has my favorite actress in it. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go watch this movie. But it was like 15 years old. So I was like,
oh, favorite actress? Who is it?
Rossum.
What?
Amy Rossum.
Oh.
Yeah. She was the lead singer, dancer person in this movie. I'm like, oh, well, she can sing. But...
Can it be Christine?
Yeah, that's it. And there's the voice that's always talking to her, and she's like, it's my dad. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Oh, no.
It's the Phantom.
Oh, it's Gerard Butler, who actually auditioned on a joke. He was dared to audition for that. He didn't think he would get it. And they're like, wow, Gerard Butler can really, really sing. And then he became the Phantom.
Dang.
And I'm like,
in the movie?
And they're all like, dang, Gerard Butler, you so handsome.
I mean, he is. Also, he voiced Stoic the Vast, so I had to paint a dragon.
Is that's Gerard Butler?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. All right. My kid watches the Dragons shows, so I catch like a lot of it secondhand. He's really into it though. But
might be
what?
I might have a couple of Build-A-Bears of the dragons back there.
Oh.
Maybe.
Oh, do you want to know something somewhat relevant to Daniel?
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Gerard. No, you're saying. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of someone. I was thinking of a completely different person. You guys were talking about Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
I was thinking Gerard Way.
Oh,
no idea who that is.
Those are very different people.
Well, you were talking like Gerard and singing, and I'm like, well, yeah, he can sing. He's in a band. Like, what? Of course he can sing. And then you guys are like,
from My Chemical Romance?
Yeah.
No.
Is it? No, Gerard Butler's not from My Chemical Romance.
No, Gerard Way.
No, that would be
and then
hilarious.
He wrote the new TV show that's on Netflix, The Umbrella Academy. That's his comic book series. And then the thing I was going to say about Daniel before I realized you're talking about a different person was that he's like best friends with Kevin Smith.
Oh.
Because they're neighbors or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alright. Gerard Butler would make an awesome live-action Ganondorf. Alright.
Sure. I mean, he's Scottish, but okay.
Keith's reaction of the...
What are we doing?
What's our next topic?
Icebreaker.
Yeah,
Jesse?
what's the next? I don't have it up. Tell me, Daniel.
We're supposed to be talking about 2021 predictions.
Oh yeah,
we are.
We each give one prediction on what, like, a game or something that Nintendo's going to do for next year. That's it for now, but a lot of rumors, news, and details are slowly leaking out. So please, stay subscribed and notified, and join our Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. And you can find our Zelda podcast, the Hylian Gamescast, here on YouTube and on iTunes, where we have had many guests who have worked on the Zelda series, and have shared a lot of amazing stories about voice acting, such as Patricia Somerset voice acting as Zelda, Mike Drucker on Zelda's writing or translation team, coming up with the jokes in the game, stories behind the names of characters that he created. Please subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. If you are a fan of our Zelda videos like this, Zelda Theories, our Zelda podcast, the Hylian Gamescast on iTunes, we would all really appreciate your support at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That and buying our t-shirts will get you and your YouTube or Twitch a shout out every week on our Hylian Gamescast. And if you send in a photo of yourself in our Game Over Jesse or Hylian Gamescast t-shirt, we can use it for promotion at the end of some of our videos.